All right, let's get this thing kicked off. What is happening, guys? I'm Alex Boots. Thank you for coming to my YouTube live. We're going to be talking MSP prospecting and sales, and particularly outbound prospecting. I am going to tell you my story about how I built my managed IT company in 2020 in a really rough economic time, needless to say. I think we all really want to forget that year, and how I really knew nothing about the space. I mean, I was a technology guy. I liked computers. I liked software. I was always intuitive with that kind of stuff. But it was my first business in general, and I created it really not knowing anybody. My MSP was in Columbus, Ohio, and so I went from a guy who started to fix people's computers to 2 or 3 months later deciding that I wanted to really make this serious and help out businesses. I knew that's where the money was at. That's where the growth was. That's where the expansion was. So I set about on that path. I did have someone with me at the time who had started a IT company years ago in the 90s, but it really was a journey for both of us. So there's a lot of things that I could talk about on how we got that journey started, but I think there was the purpose of the video today is um, I want to communicate to those people that maybe are on a path that maybe I was earlier, or they're running an MSP right now and they're having to run a sales team, or they're trying to figure out how are they going to get their prospecting actually going? Like, how are they actually going to get a consistent flow of new leads? And I'm a complete prospecting guy. That is kind of what I cut my teeth on. I didn't even necessarily like choose it. It wasn't like I said about, as a kid, I wasn't this guy who was going around and constantly, I was a social guy, but constantly meeting new people and coming up with business ideas and just always, selling ideas to people. Like I would not say that I was a natural born salesperson at all. I would say that it more so like found me than I found it. And it turns out that prospecting was something that I could use some of my native talents, which I think it kind of involves you have to be willing to communicate constantly. I know that sounds very simple, but just a absolute key fundamental of that of prospecting is you're going to be talking to a lot of people whether you like it or not. And if you're not talking to a lot of people, then you won't be successful in prospecting. And the minute, the day, the week, or forbid the month that you stop really communicating in a wider sphere to people is when your pipeline immediately starts to dry up. So, anyhow, when I started my MSP, I didn't know anyone. It didn't have any networking groups I was a part of, anything like that. So, I had to go get my clients pure outbound. And what I did is I actually went out and I visited businesses in person. I did cold calls. And through those two methods, I was able to get my first managed clients kind of just through clawing my way in and, showing care for the person and using some of my, ability to relate to another person, and understand enough technology to where I could kind of get my foot in the door. And we put our stack together. We had a pretty nice, we had a Datto stack, and we were kind of, I would say we were in a pretty good position as far as the tools that we were using. But I want to walk you through some of the ways that I prospected originally, and then moving on from that, the ways that I prospected for MSPs that I worked for or worked in. Because now I do consulting for MSPs, and we're also a sales partnership for MSPs where we have done for you prospecting to help you, build your pipeline and meet some qualified businesses and close some more recurring revenue. So on that, that being said, we're going to go over those techniques. I want to have a really nice loose Q&A. I want you guys to ask whatever whatever questions you want to ask, whatever things you want to talk about. And yeah, we can see what happens here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Now, this is an incomplete slide deck, but we're probably not going to get, to the very end anyway. So we should have time to get through what I do have. So prospecting in IT, what I think is like not only your willingness to go out there and communicate, and there's a lot of introverted people in our industry, so that can be hard for people. But the other thing is it's just hard work, and you have to have somebody that owns it. If you're founder-led sales, then you need to own your prospecting. Prospecting is your future. And as a matter of fact, one of the first kind of slides that we're going to go over is I'm going to give you a definition of what prospecting means. So that's in the third or fourth slide here. But the theme that I have is an old prospector mining for gold. That is not an original idea. That is actually from a book called Strike It Rich Prospecting by Les Dane, where it's actually written in the 1950s, but it's a phenomenal book for any salesperson. It's not in print anymore, so to get it, you have to go on eBay or Amazon. They're quite expensive. But I've been fortunate enough to have some copies and read the book. So the theme is the old prospector. And so the different lessons that I'm going to walk you through today on how is prospecting your future by the very definition of the word prospecting, how much data diligence you actually have to have when you're doing this successfully. And guys, I was able to build, about $1 million annual recurring revenue between 12 to 14 MSP contracts in less than 2 years doing prospecting purely outbound. I was in networking groups. That was a key part of it. But this is not waiting around for, referrals to come in or that kind of stuff, or waiting for website leads, which is, obviously difficult in our industry anyway. But it's very active, very fast paced. Third lesson, the prospector's journey. So kind of what are some methods of prospecting that are successful, cashing in your gold and all that glitters isn't gold, and how to sustain your prospecting success. Lesson one, prospecting is your future, fundamentals and mindset. If you don't start with fundamentals and mindset in any endeavor, then you're missing the very base of which to depart from. Prospecting is really essentially finding that vein of gold. And the truth to prospecting is that the day, like I said, the week that you stop doing it, there's about a lag of 4 weeks time where your pipeline will be completely dry. Now you might say, thanks, Captain Obvious. You stop prospecting and then you don't get any more leads. But like, this goes to my point again of like, do you know your numbers? Do you know, once you stop prospecting, how long does it take until you don't have any leads? I do. And what I found is that in 4 weeks time, your prospecting pipeline, your pipeline is essentially dead. And what you have in it, you need to close. You're going to be more desperate about those deals because there's no future coming in, and that's about it. And really, I'm speaking to most MSPs out there because you do not have a marketing engine bringing you inbound leads. And if you do, it's not really very consistent. Now, I'm building some things on the side that are addressing that, but we're not talking about that today. If you're like 99% of MSPs out there, you are depending on your prospectors, your salespeople, maybe your own network. But when that dries up, if you're not actively communicating, leads are just simply not coming in. And this is not sustainable for any business. I mean, you can't survive. And that's what I think is one of the biggest challenges of running an IT services company. It's very commoditized. So as a sales rep, you'll fail. You'll burn out. You'll probably start to blame other people or things. Like, this industry sucks. This company sucks. Nobody wants IT. Everybody already has a provider. Nobody buys during the holidays. Like, if it's like, during, October, November, and December, or, people aren't buying in the summer. Like, I've heard so many different things, and it just, none of it is actually true. The only thing that's actually true is when you drop out your own actions that create a future pipeline, you simply cease to have one. Nobody's going to do it for you. If you're, an SDR, or if you have SDRs on your team, or BDRs on your team, or account executives that are prospecting, they need to have a mindset of nobody is going to do this for them. They should not be waiting around for leads. If they are, they're in the worst position possible in sales, which is waiting. Time kills deals. Waiting is not a great place to be. So even if you have a marketing team, you just need to have the mindset that not even marketing is going to fix this for you. And you're getting barraged with all of the AI prospecting, SaaS applications. We're going to send 1,500 LinkedIn messages. We're going to send 5,000 cold emails a month. That stuff's not going to do it for you either. Sorry to break it to you. If you are putting in life into those tools and you're backing it up with real human to human prospecting and setting those tools up for success, that's a little bit of a different story. But if you're like, hey, I'm just going to go out here and acquire this solution, it's going to handle my prospecting for you, you have absolutely been sold a lie. You will fail. I strongly encourage you not to do that. You never get good results by cutting corners in anything in life. And I think you kind of already know that, or already have seen that. So it's not going to handle it for you. So here's actual numbers. This is an actual graph that I have. So I want you to look and see at particularly this first quadrant up until where I'm kind of making the mouse go up and down. So this area, you see how that's kind of a low period? Like, there's some months where there wasn't any prospects that I reached. And even when I did, maybe it was 1, 2, whereas over here it's much higher. So take a look at this. So there's a period of low prospecting. There's a period of revenue drop. I mean, it just lines up perfectly. And the worst part about it is that when you stop that prospecting engine, it can take weeks of prospecting to get this back up into a range of where you're actually closing deals again. And you'll see that I had to get these spikes of, I had to kind of push, and then it even fell out again right here. And kind of what you're seeing too is I was a sales rep as well as a prospector. So, in the periods that I was closing deals or progressing things in the pipeline, I slowed down my prospecting. So you get this up and down kind of emotion that isn't good for sustained success. And I'm here to say that in prospecting, it is the most important activity in a salesperson's role. And your input in to the output out is a better investment than any other activity you could be doing. If you pay a capable SDR, say $5,500 a month, say $60,000 a year salary, and for that $5,500 a month, they bring you in, let's say 4 managed service deals. You paid them $60,000 to bring 4 managed service deals on a 3-year contract. Let's say they're about 30 user deals. Let's say that your MRR is 3,000 each. So that's 12,000 MRR over a 3-year period of time is, I don't know. What is that? $500,000 lifetime value of that contract. And you'll probably have them longer for 3 years. So is paying your SDR $60,000 to get $500,000 of contract value, is that a good investment? I think you know the answer to that. Now, the very definition of a prospect is, well, a person regarded as likely to succeed or as a potential customer or client. Now, what's interesting is I like to look at word derivations. There is an author that L. Ron Hubbard, and he wrote a lot of books about study. And one of the things that he encourages you to do is look at the derivation of words because you can understand kind of what where they come from and get a basic meaning of the word. But it comes from late Middle English, denoting the action of looking towards a distant object. From Latin prospectus, view, from prospicere, look forward, from pro, forward, from specere, to look. Early use was referring to a view of landscape, which gave rise to the meaning mental picture, and from there, anticipated event. Prospecting is about working now for the future. And that is the best place to be, is when the actions that you're doing right now are lining things up for your future, because your future is the most important thing for your business. If you're constantly stuck in, you know, now, internal laundry, um, inter-organizational things, you're not looking outwards, you're not looking ahead, then, I think you're going to run into a brick wall, and you're not going to grow to the extent that you want to. So, prospecting is your future. I feel very strongly about that. So there's 7 keys. There's probably more than that, but these are my 7 keys to gold rush success. First is to grasp the importance of prospecting. 2 is an understanding of your own product or service and what it solves. Now, I know that seems really simple, but tons of even MSP founders and definitely MSP salespeople, they're talking tech on discovery calls or first time appointments, whatever you call it. Should you be talking tech? Of course, you should be talking tech. But should you exclusively be talking tech, especially to non IT decision makers like CFOs or CEOs, COOs, law firm partners? What do you think? No, you should not be just talking tech at them, because they do not care about the features of the tech. They care about the business outcomes. One really cool exercise that I've done with a group of sales development reps for an MSP is take all of the technical outcomes that you can kind of think of that you deliver as a managed IT company. And then you translate each of those technical outcomes into a business outcome. It's a very interesting exercise. You should absolutely do it to get a real grasp on what your product or service is solving in a business sense. But what we found with every single case, everything from what the RMM is doing to what vCISO services do to what backing up your data means to you in a bit for you in a business sense, it all leads to revenue protection through reduced risk and revenue generation, because the proper implementation of technology will lead to an improvement in employee productivity. Better morale of your staff, better productivity should convert into more income for your business. So yes, we are in the business of helping your business make more money, even as an IT company. 3, a knowledge of who needs your service, where they are, and how to reach them. This comes to making a real ideal customer profile, an ICP. I could have my own 30-minute live just on an ICP. And no, it is not just the industry or vertical and how many users there are. That is not a complete ICP. So, follow some of my videos actually go into this, but reach out to me if we want to delve a little bit more into ICP. 4, a willingness and ability to communicate at a high level. You guys have all been in conversations with people or business conversations where you just kind of cringe. The person's not relating well to the other person. They're saying things that are maybe irrelevant. They're not talking to the person. They're just talking. That's one manifestation of that. And just the volume of what you say is not communication. You can have people who are super quiet and people who just constantly talk. Both have the same effect. They're not getting across ideas that are relevant to the other person. So In prospecting, I can't tell you how many days I woke up and it's like, I don't want to talk to anybody, but it is my job to talk to people. So, how do you handle yourself to want to go talk to people? Well, there's techniques that you can do that I've learned over the years, but one simple thing is, well, what the hell are you interested in about another person? Like what is there for you to enjoy about talking to people? Are you just talking to them so that you can find a deal? They're going to get that from you if you are. And they don't want that. Humans are perceptive. That's why when you try to put a robot out to prospect for you, people are like, get that the hell out of here. They don't want to talk to a robot and they don't want to talk to somebody who is just in it to find an opportunity. So you have to be interested in people and you have to like other people. If you struggle with liking people, again, there's things you can do on a personal level to address that, but it needs to be addressed because you're going out. And if you don't like somebody and you can't relate to them, how are you supposed to build a relationship that lasts and that results in something like a managed IT contract where it's a continued relationship? It can be described as an intimate relationship because you're interfacing with their data and all their systems. So, like, I cannot stress how important communication is. You have to put your best communication people in a prospecting role. Now, you don't have to be super interesting, okay, or charming. That is something that I want to like dispel. You just have to be interested in other people and enjoy talking to someone enough to be successful in prospecting. Now, the techniques on how to do it, that's obvious. Like, if you were like, hey man, I need you to go change the oil in that car. And you're like, I want to change the oil. I'm interested in changing the oil. I understand the value of changing the oil. And I know that the car is right over there, but like, how do I do it? Like, you need a how to guide. You need a proper manual for anything. Or if you've worked it out yourself, well, you've worked out your own manual and then you should put it down in writing anyway so that you can document it and do it again. And that's exactly what I've done. Now, we're not going to get to all this today, but I've put down stuff in a manual. Now, in a high ability to control. So, what does that mean exactly? High ability to control. Like, okay, so have you ever seen a salesperson um, basically a very unaggressive salesperson? And when I say aggressive, I don't mean like pushy and like pushing you into a deal. I just mean like vigorous in their application of sales to that person and in a good way. Have you ever seen someone who is extremely not that way in sales? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Follow up anytime. Oh, yeah, no, I'll talk to you later. Yeah, no problem, no problem, no problem. I mean, do you want it? I mean, are you interested in maybe going with us? It's cringy. If you've seen it, is it successful? No, it's not. Just as the other one isn't successful either. I really think that you should go with us, Mr. Jones. And based on everything that you said, why don't we go ahead and schedule a follow? Are you available in an hour? What about the next day? And you send email after email after email. Hey, just following up. Hey, just following up. Like all this kind of stuff. Like that's also not a great way to control a person or a situation. And in sales, you have to be able to control the deal and the person in a very smooth and calm way. So it's not frantic. It's not uh, backing off from them entirely, but it's also not trying to push them forward against their will. So you have to be willing to control conversations, control other people towards attaining your product. Then lastly is a system of doing it. So yes, you've got your techniques, but you need to build some systems for yourself. A good system that I had is my Excel sheets. I had great Excel sheets that I used to document all of my prospecting endeavors. And I had a kind of a way of going about the pattern of prospecting that just worked for me. And when you have a system in place, you don't have to be so concerned every day about what you're going to do. You have your system, you know what you're going to do, you just implement it, and then it works for you. So going less into there's a lot to be said on data diligence and prospecting and how important that is. So I think we're going to get through maybe, like a one slide of this, and then we're going to kind of reach our end of our time here. One thing you hear about is it quality or is it quantity? Like, can it be both? Yes, it can be both. That's actually the real answer. But when you have people saying it's one or the other or only go for quality, super personalized messages. Okay, instead of dialing, cold calling, instead of going out and doing door-to-door visits, we are going to send 10 personalized mails. I say mails, but letters to 10 people. And that's all we're going to do. And we're going to take 2 hours to study, maybe more, to study that person, learn about their business, get them a little gift and send it. Should that be done? Sure. Is that the only thing that should be done? I haven't seen that work effectively in the end of just doing that. So the answer is no. Quality is not the only answer. It is not the most important thing. I am here to say that yes, it is a numbers game. Quantity is better. And here's my proof of why quantity is better. If you were given 300 chances to hit a ball versus 10 chances to this is so stupid, but 10 chances to maybe hit the ball with a better bat, or maybe it's an easier pitch. I don't know. Increase quality in some way. Which one's going to result in more balls being hit? I know there's other variables involved. Maybe this is a terrible analogy, but like, you see my point? Like, when you give yourself more at bats, you're just going to succeed. I mean, look at Netflix, like one of the biggest companies in the world. Are they focused on like quality prospecting communications? No. They're also a SaaS app, which is very small subscription base, entirely different than ours, different model. But like, it's about quantity, guys. We live in a huge universe, tons of people. I think it's like 8 billion people on the planet. Like, there's a lot of quantity. There's a lot of people out there and want your service. And if you do those 10 messages a month, they could be great, but you're just not going to reach the amount of people you need to reach to really expand. So you have to drive your prospecting on a volume-based approach with great quality. You want to keep upping the quality, but you want to put the volume there, and then you want to catch that quality up to it versus the other way of, hey, let's take little baby steps and get every message right. That's just not going to result in a good product. So, guys, I think that's all we're going to cover for today. I'm kind of out of my time slot here, but thank you so much for coming. And I hope you got some value out of this. I'm going to do this every single Wednesday at 10 a.m. There's so much more to talk about. And I'm very happy to have you here. So look forward to seeing you again.